Hey innovators, welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be building a game called the Fruit Catcher. Fruit falls randomly from the sky and you collect them. And if you fail to do, guess what? Of course, it's game over. So let's start the project. The first thing you want to do is open your Scratch and go to File. You click on New to get a new project. Then you get rid of your cats and you go to your sprite library to pick two sprites, which are the apple and the bowl. The apple is the one you drop randomly, and the bowl is what you collect the fruits with. Immediately you do that, click on File and save to your computer to have your work saved. So you write Fruit Catcher, or you can just write it at the top where you have Scratch projects. So after writing Fruit Catcher, you click on File and save to your computer to have a copy saved. After doing that, you press the Enter key. We can head over to change the size to 200 to make our bowl bigger. After doing that, you click on the Choose Backdrop and you select two backdrops from the outdoor section. It doesn't matter, for me, I'm going to be using the bench, and the second backdrop is the blue sky. So if peradventure you made a mistake in selecting a backdrop, you can just click on the stage, go to the backdrop section and use the trash can to get rid of the unwanted ones. Now head over to the costume section and change the name of the backdrop to game page and the other one to game over page. Now for the game over page, you take your T, which simply means text, and you change the fill color to red and the font to pixel. So after doing that, you click on the middle of your page and write Game Over in capital letter. Now head over to select, use the last dot to increase the size of the Game Over and try to move it to the center of your page. Now that you're done with that, we can go back to the code. Then we click on the apple. To know if you clicked on the apple, you're going to see a little icon of the apple shown at the top. Now that we've selected our apple, let's start writing the code. So head over to event, and on event you're going to pick when green flag is clicked. After picking when green flag is clicked, the next thing we want to do is head over to the motion section. So on the motion block, we're going to pick a particular code that says go to random position. Now let's test it by pressing the green flag. You can see the apple displaying randomly on our screen. Okay, now that we've done that, let's make our apple display randomly but start from the top, meaning we want the apple to appear at the top of our screen because it basically wants to fall from the sky. So to address this, we are going to set our Y to 180 degrees. So it simply means that it displays randomly but only randomly at the top of our screen. Beautiful. So the next thing to do is to make our apple start dropping from the sky. To do this, we are still going to be using our motion block. But before we do the motion, I want to use another when green flag is clicked. The reason for that is I want all my code to be in smaller pieces so I can track changes and fix mistakes when I encounter one. So let's go to motion and pick the block that says change Y by 10. Now what does change Y by 10 means? It simply means move the apple along the vertical axis. So vertical axis indicates you going up or down, but how do you go up? The positive number goes up while the negative number goes down. Here is what I'm talking about. Go to your backdrop and go to the bottom of your page. You're going to see X and Y grid. Now, let me just pick that. We don't really need it for this project. I just want to illustrate with it. On the X and Y grid, you notice how positive 180 is at the top and negative 180 is at the bottom. So if you want your apple to move towards the top or towards the bottom, you're going to be doing the same. So let's get rid of this backdrop since we don't need it and go back to the apple. So on getting to the apple, if I change my 10 to negative 10, it starts coming down, as you can see. Now if I join it and press when green flag is clicked, you can see that it starts coming down. Now the problem is it's coming down anytime I press the green flag, but I want it to come down on its own, like I want it to come down by itself. Now, how do I do this? Let's switch the backdrop back to the game page so I can demonstrate very well. So now that we're on the game page, let's head over to code. Now on code, we're going to be using the control structure called forever. It simply means that the apple keeps falling forever until we ask it to stop. So let's take forever and put the change y by -10 inside. You can decide to use any number. You can use -5, -1. It doesn't matter. As far as it's performing the action forever, the apple keeps dropping. Okay, so I used repeat 10 times and that only take it halfway, but using forever is going to make it drop infinitely. Now, the apple is dropping, but it gets stuck at the bottom after a while. So to fix that, we're going to use a conditional statement known as if. So head over to your control again. On control, you're going to take if then and put it under the change y by -10, and you go to your operators. Now on the operators, we want to say that if the y position, look at the y position at the bottom. Y position is currently -196, but we don't want it to get to 196. Let's use a number like probably negative. Let's move the apple a little bit. Okay, this space is okay. -1. Okay, let's just go with -170. Okay, let's just go with -170. So head over to your operators. On your operators, you're going to say if is less than 50. So put it in the diamond shaped space and change the 50 to -170. Now remember to put your negative, because if you use a positive number, it is going to be at the top. That means it's going to be checking for the command at the top. Now go to motion and look for something called y position, meaning that if our y position is lesser than -170, what should happen? The things that will happen is the things we've written before. Our apple should be set to 180, which is at the top, and then it goes to random position at the top, just like it was doing before in the first block of code. So let's look for go to random position, and let's test our code now by pressing the green flag. It's coming. Okay, this is perfect. You can see now that it's dropping randomly and it's dropping to the bottom of our page and it's going back to the top. Now let's write some code for the bow. Now for the bow, the first thing we want to do is we want to stick the bow in a particular row in such a way that if we mistakenly move it out, it comes back to that position. So to do that, when green flag is clicked and we use our forever code. Now after doing that, we head over to our motion, and on motion we make sure you position your bow before writing this code, because if you do not position your bow properly, it's going to be stuck to the place where the bow is at the moment. So you're going to use set y to 1, whatever number that is there, and you do the same for set x. Now what that simply means is that it should remain there. When we move it out, immediately we press the green flag, it goes to that position. That's beautiful. That's nice actually. But for x, we want our x to be movable. So to make it movable, let's go to sensing so that we can make the bow to follow our mouse. So we are going to say mouse x, meaning that if we move the mouse horizontally on the screen, the bow goes with it. As you can see, as I'm moving my mouse, my cursor, the bow is moving with my cursor. Okay, now let's head back to the apple and write another code. Now the code we're writing now is sensing, meaning that what should happen, or let me just say collection of the fruits. So we want to basically collect the fruits as they are dropping, because now the fruit is just dropping and the bow is not collecting them. So to collect the fruits, we're going to be writing some code, some conditional code. The first thing you do is you head over to events, as we always start. When green flag is clicked, after picking when green flag is clicked, the next thing we're going to be picking is forever, because we want to be catching the apple forever. As far as the apple is dropping, we want to be catching it forever. After picking that, head over to control and take your forever. So after forever, put the if and then inside of forever, because we're writing a condition, remember. Head over to sensing, and on sensing we say if touching. Initially it comes with mouse pointer, you change that to your bow, meaning that if your apple touches your bow, what should happen? The first thing that should happen is that the apple should be collected and go back up like we did before. So it goes to random position. You can just right click and duplicate. After duplicating, put it inside and let's try to collect it. So we'll press the green flag. You see it's now collecting your apple. Your apple is no longer falling. All right. I hope you're practicing along with me. If you're not, quickly do that. All right, let's continue. The next thing we want to do is to add sounds to our game to make it more functional. So for the sound, you make sure you use the start sound only. Head over to the sound and pick any of your choice. When we miss the fruit, we want the game to make an error sound like an alert. For me, I'll be using the sound chomp. Let me test it. You can decide to use any sound of your own. Chomp. Okay, I like the chomp actually. Chomp. Okay, now let's add sound to the bow as well, so we can know when we've collected an apple. Okay, so we start sound. Please remember to use start sound and don't use start sound until done, because if you start sound until done, it's going to hold the rest of your code from working. All right, we can use the same sound chomp again. Let's head over to sounds, click on the plus icon to choose sound. For this one, I'll be using collect, so you can search sound collect. Head back to your code to continue your work. So click on the chomp and change it to collect. Now this is beautiful. I love this. Now that our project is working, let's keep track of the score. So head over to variables and create two variables. The first one score and the second one lives, so we can make it a little bit difficult. Move the lives to the other side of the screen so you have enough room. Now you set the score immediately under a green flag, and also you set the lives. So what we do is we set our score to 0 and set the lives to 5. That's what I'm using actually. You can decide to use 2, 4, whatever you want to use. So the next thing is to change our score by 1 if we get if we catch a fruit. So when we catch a fruit, change score by 1. This is working. It's beautiful. So if you fail to catch the fruit, it's going to be changing the lives, not the score this time. It will be changing the lives by -1. So initially the lives was set to 5. When it starts changing by -1, when you miss any time, it starts going down until it gets to 0. Now there is a problem. Even after getting to 0, nothing happens, right? You can see it goes to -0, which is bad. Okay, so let's go back to events and say when green flag is clicked, we go to our control, we take forever, and we use the conditional statement if and then. So this time we're going to say if score equals to 0. So let's just put equals to 0. Then we'll go to our variables to pick our score. No, we're not using score, rather we're using lives. So if lives equals to 0, then what should happen? Meaning that if you are unable to collect the fruit 5 times, what should happen? We go to control and we take stop all, and then we switch the backdrop to game over, meaning this our initial backdrop is known as the game page, if you remember vividly. Now we're going to be switching it to game over, meaning the time is out and we are unable to get the game. Now it's stopping all. Now since it's stopping all, the next thing we want to do is to switch our backdrop to game over. So let's go to looks and we say switch backdrop to game over. Now when we press that, let's fill 5 times and see what happens. Okay, now it's switching to game over. Now on game over, the bow and the apple are both visible, which we don't want since the game is over. We can press the green flag and start playing again. So what we do is that we go to our looks, and on looks we're going to say when green flag is clicked, the backdrop should switch to game page. Now that we have that working, we can continue with the hiding of the 2 sprites when the game is over. You notice how the 2 sprites were showing on the game over page. So let me fill 5 times and see. Okay, 3, 1. Okay, you can see the 2 sprites are still showing. So let's go to looks. On looks you say hide on game page, meaning when the game is over, the apple should be hidden. Now the apple is hidden, very good, but not the bowl. So let's click on the bowl as well and say when backdrop switches to game over page, it should hide as well. So when backdrop switches to game over page, looks, hide. Now remember that when green flag is clicked, it should show. If not, it's not going to show. So hide on game over, show on game page. So when green flag is clicked, show. Then when backdrop switches to game over page, hide. Now that we've done that, let's test our code by pressing the green flag. Oopsie, the apple is missing. Oh my god. Okay, let's fix that. Let's go back to the apple, click on the apple, then you take show. Immediately after it switches the backdrop to game page, it shows up. Okay, this is beautiful. All right, innovators, let's maximize our screen to test our full screen and see how it works. Collect. Beautiful. We've come to the end of the project. Please let me know in the comment section if you have any question and I'll be attending to them. Do have a wonderful day. Bye.